Hey guys, it's Jamie. Today we're going to be going through the tabs in Angular Material and seeing what exactly we can do. That'll include tabs with navigation inside of the router and lazy loading tabs. Alright, so let's get into it. Okay, so the first tab example we're going to do is this very top one on the Angular Material site. And we're going to get that working in our own blank site. And to do that, I'm first going to import the mattabs module. And also I'm going to make sure I have the browser animations module imported. And then I'm going to paste that template that we saw on the site into our own file. And with just those changes, we should see it work. There we go. So already it's working, so that's pretty nice. Alright, so our example works only when the labels are plain text, but if we want them to be more complicated, like have EM tags, then instead of using this label, we have to actually use a mattab label. So we'll try putting that inside of our first mattab here. So the first one will be complex, and then the second one will be simple. Alright, there we go. So the first one has this italicized best, and then the second one is still just simple, plain. And again, to get that, we just use this mattab label. And it does need to be on this ngTemplate tag, otherwise it won't work. Alright, so this next section is on dynamic height, and all it says is that when you change between tabs, the height is not animated, so it immediately snaps to the new height. But if we did want the height to be animated, we could go inside of our code and then add this dynamic height equals true, because it's false by default. So once we do that, it's a very subtle difference, but you'll notice when we change tabs, the content animates, it shrinks and grows as it changes. Alright, the next section is on integrating tabs with navigation, meaning the router. So we'll copy their example and then we'll get it working with our own tabs. And we'll paste it in here, and I'm going to format it. So basically what they have going on here is a mattab navbar, which you need to have this inside of a nav if you want it to work with the routing. And then for each link in navlinks, which we haven't defined yet, it is going to make an A tag, which is going to be a link to link.path. And then it ties the active property to whether or not the router is currently at that link. Alright, so the next thing we need to do to make this work is define navlinks. Okay, and that's going to be an array inside of the TypeScript. Alright, and each navlink has a path and a label. Okay, so I'm going to make some objects in here. Okay, and in order to make that work, I'm going to stop the server and generate some components. ng space g space c space components / home. Okay, and that'll just generate a little home component for us inside of this folder. And I'm going to make another one for about. And these are going to be the contents of our tabs. Also, we need to set up routing within our module. So I'm going to grab some code from the Angular routing page and then throw that into our module file. So first I'm going to import the router module and routes. The next thing I'm going to do is define our app routes as a const. And ours isn't very complicated. We just have we have home, and that'll be tied to our home component. And we have about. which is tied to the about component. Okay, and then the next thing we need to do is initialize the router with our routes inside of the imports section. Okay, and that's going to take as a parameter our constant routes that we passed. Let's test that out on our site, see if we have any errors. Oh, I forgot to rerun the server. So ngserve again. Okay, so I'm going to refresh the page. And right now we don't have any route, we're just at the root level. But as soon as we click on home, it'll change the route to home and it will select this one. And then it changes the content accordingly. So that's working pretty nicely. And then we have our debugging info from that line in the module. We can take that out if we want to get rid of that. I'm going to. So I'm going to delete that. Alright, so the next section is on lazy loading. So by default the tabs are eagerly loaded, which means that they'll be initialized but they won't be injected into the DOM until you click on the tab. Okay, but if you want to delay the initialization of those components, meaning the TypeScript and so forth, you can use lazy loading. Alright, so the way you do that is you just use this ng template. But we won't really be able to notice this with that simple example. So we're probably just going to wrap up there. Alright, so that's it for tabs. Let me know if you guys like this video in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for more videos like this.